husbands, listen up. When you decide to get married, you have to understand that if you're used to being in first all your life, get ready to be in last place. If you're used to being in first place your entire life, get ready to be in last place. Be prepared to put your wife first in every way. And it's much easier said than done. But marriage is not a competition. It's not some battle. It's not some battle of wills. It's not to see who's the strongest and who's the greatest. But it's about sacrifice. And as a man, you have a responsibility to give yourself for your wife, for your children, to put them well ahead of you. That it's not about you, it's about them. And the reality is that, again, it's a lot easier to say than it is to do it sometimes. And I think we mean well a lot of the times, but we just can't seem to get over that selfishness that gets in the way of us being really, really good husbands. And I know for me, what I had to learn how to do was, I had to learn how to listen to my wife. It took me years to really learn how to lock into what she had to say and really to put a high value on her wisdom, her insight. But also, listen, men or women are not the same. We all know this. That, I know for my wife, there are things that she likes to share, she likes to express, and I got to be willing to sit there and listen. And not just, present or act as if I'm listening, but really be engaged in what it is that she's saying. And that's about sacrifice and learning how to understand that as a husband, you have to put your wife first, and you have to put all your needs. I know you don't like not going to like me saying this. You're not going to like hearing this, but you have to learn how to put your needs aside. Now, it's not about abdicating, what your desires are, or moving away from what's important to you, or you can't have things that are important to you. The wife should sacrifice as well. But as a husband, you have to understand that you should be a protector of your wife. And how you protect her isn't always from someone trying to hurt her physically and all of those things, which you certainly should. But you have to protect your wife emotionally and be a support to her. And so with us, for example, with guys, we tend to be a little bit more physical when it comes to sexual activity, for example. We look and we want it now. And sometimes our wives may not. And you have to accept the fact that's part of the deal. And just because your wife isn't in the mood or doesn't want to engage in sexual activity doesn't give you an excuse to go out and sleep with someone else. And that's idiotic and that's irresponsible. That you have to learn how to grin and bear it sometimes. Really. I mean, sometimes, as you're at home and you're laying in the bed and you're in the mood and she's not, and and she's hurting or whatever the case may be, then you got to be able to hold your wife and tell her you love her. And I know it's easier said than done. You're not listening to someone who's perfect, who's figured everything out, who's always done things the right way. But what I am saying is that to be a good man, you have to learn how to make sacrifices. And you start with those small sacrifices, one at a time. In a critical area that we fail at as men, doesn't matter your race, creed, color, background, pedigree, that we struggle oftentimes with listening to our wives. And you have to listen and hear what it is that she has to say. And again, we are physical, and we are a little bit more sexual in terms of our need for those types of things. But you can't put everything that you are as a husband, as a man, on that one activity. I think if you treat your wife the right way, if you take care of her, if you love her, if you listen to her, if you're patient with her, if you put her first, then that won't be a problem. And again, oftentimes when we do commit adultery, then we usually blame our wives for it because it's something that they're not doing. And that's, again, idiotic and irresponsible. That's not what a man should do. That your wife isn't to blame. You have to learn how to step up and be a man, make sacrifices, understand what it means to hurt for her good sometimes. And again, this is something that, man, as I sit here and I think about over all the years and all the different experiences I've had with my wife, and many times I wouldn't listen to her. I kind of felt my way or no way, and I knew it all. No, that's not true. That my wife had a lot to say and a lot to offer, and I learned how to listen to her over the years. And also, when it comes to this idea, particularly young marriages or folks who get married but aren't really ready to be spouses, as I mentioned in part one, you think you can get married and run around and do whatever with whomever, and that can't happen. That you can't run around and after these women that I call wings and pizza. You can't run after these women, because who can live off of wings and pizza? But your wife is a good, healthy, wholesome meal that you can have every time. That's a good, wholesome meal you can have for the rest of your life. You can't live life running after wings and pizza all the time. Yeah, it's fun, it's exciting, but who can live off of that? You need nourishment. You need vitamin E. You need the type of calcium. You need comfort. See, that's what a good wife can bring. And a wife that's not under stress, a wife that's not worried about where you are, what you're doing, a wife that's not worried about being hit or mistreated physically or emotionally. When a wife is in a good place like that, when she's not worried about the finances and stressed out, that wife can be spectacular to you and be anything you need. And if you act right and you do things the right way, sometimes she might turn into wings and pizza if you treat her the right way. And so, see, fellas, this is what we have to do. And we got to take responsibility for our actions and our ways. If we're going to be good husbands, if we're going to have successful marriages, we have to learn this principle. And that principle is putting our wives first. Learn how to put ourselves in last place for the sake of our marriage, for the sake of this woman that we said we would love for better or for worse, through sickness and health. That we made that commitment that we would love her. And we have a responsibility to our wives. And see, I know there's a direct correlation between our commitment to our wives and the blessings in our lives. That if we take care of our wives and we treat them the right way, then God has a way of blessing us in other ways. And it's not just about how you treat her when you're around her, but how do you treat her when you're not around? Are you flirting with other women? Are you in inappropriate relationships? You can't hang on to all of those women and all those relationships that you had prior to being married. Again, either those relationships have to be eradicated or renegotiated with a new set of rules. And forgive my passion, but it's important for us as men to take responsibility, to be good husbands, to be good fathers, put our wives ahead of ourselves, and learn how to support them. Don't battle with them. You don't have to fight them. Just be good to them. And I know that, man, if you're good to your wife and you take good care of her, it's not just about financial support and strength and stability, but it's about emotional support. And how do you treat her? How do you look at her? Do you compliment her? These things are important. I know that it sounds fundamental, it sounds simplistic, but I think this is a critical key to a successful marriage. Looking forward to part 3. God bless.